Hello, everyone. This is Verge Santos. Basically, I have been asked a few times a lot about automation and about APIs, and knowing that there is a need sometimes to just have a little program to basically help with some configurations and to show that it's a little bit easier than just going ahead and running an SSH client, especially if you're doing repetitive work on multiple machines. I created this little Python script and I wanted to show you. It actually has a SQLite database in the background, so I'm actually going to clear that before we start just to make sure. Oh, sorry, it is basically clear. So I'm just clearing that. And basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and run this program. So let's start the program up. As we can see here, basically this is the main splash screen of the program. And basically there are a few sections. Over here we have the section where we can manually enter commands, show run. We can actually configure a box, interface E5 or E4, IP address. And one thing to note is because this is using an API call and not using just an SSH, I don't actually have to put in config T. So if you're going to want to set the DNS server and DP server, you can just go ahead and just type IP DNS primary and give it a information and then click on execute. Now, right now, we don't have any devices because I wanted to start from scratch. So basically, there are a couple of ways of actually adding devices. Number one, a very simple way of basically going ahead and manually entering it. I put in some default things in here. Maybe I shouldn't have. It looks a little bit more confusing, but this can easily be removed. So let's say I want to put my vthunder05 in here. I know the IP address is 192.168.2.17, and the default is admin in A10, so I don't have to change that. I'm using the defaults. It is a vThunder model, so we'll have that. This, let's pretend this is in support till 2021.01.01. And so this is just good to have, and if you're actually using this for your small environment, so you can actually know when devices are actually coming up for renewal and contracts. Code that we have, let's say we do 414, which is the most common version right now, -P3 that customers are using today. And most customers have these devices as an ADC appliance. If you have a device group or you don't, you can put it here. I'm going to use my Dell because that's all of my virtual servers on the Dell. I don't have any partitions, but I could. So I just have the shared. I have that as the default. And I could also create a DMZ partition, let's say, and just enable that. If I'm going to have additional features, I can have enable VRP. There are my floating IP addresses, some defaults. Like I said, maybe I just have one. Take that one out. And I think it's always good to know because in my history of working and supporting networks and architecture, we always determine which was the active device. And if things weren't going through the active device, it caused problems. Sometimes we didn't back up everything through the backup links. So knowing that this should be the active or the standby, or if it does both, if you have multiple VRP groups, it's really good to have information in your database. So when you're troubleshooting, you can actually look it up. BCP pairs, so let's say VCS, I should say. And what is the priority if you're using a VCS chassis or chassis cluster. So basically the floating IP that we now use for the management, right? So this is good information to have because now you should be using this floating IP address for the VCS chassis. So let's say 112.255. I'm just making this up. Scale it as well, but we don't have scale it, so I'm just going to do that. Go ahead and save that device. Gives you an error message, a message saying that it's successfully added it. All I have to do is come into the list box and go list devices, and now I can see it here. Once I have it here, I can easily go ahead and get those details, pull those details from the database. This is storing now this information in the database. If I do a show run, and I go ahead and execute that, in about 2 or 3, maybe 10 seconds, I can come in here and I actually can see my show run in here. One of the nice things about this is I can go ahead and basically save this buffer. Anything in here or in here I can save. Click save buffer, save output window, which is the execute window, save the command window, which is this one. I can append the file or replace the file that I'm going to select. So first I have to select my file. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go A10 tools. I'm going to go into Python, and I'm just going to here, vthunder, vthunder 05. Go ahead and save that. And of course, it's a text file, so we can go. Oh, keep making this mistake. You actually have to create the file here instead of selecting it. So vthunder 05 and enter. Now I select that. And now I basically was able to save my file. If I go into my directory and I go to vthunder, I should be able to see the config right here. As you can see, the command that was sent, show run, right, from vthunder is a show run, and here's my show run. So I can easily get a copy of my config. It's really easy. I can also get the whole backup config, so those are all the files and all that, by actually also running the backup option here. So this could be an FTP server or SCP server. Just put in the path that you want, including the file name. Click, make sure the device is selected. What's the username and password for that location? So I basically am going to enter my password now for my location. And I forgot to select the device, backup. And now I go BGP and make sure I select this here. That's one thing you have to. And now this is actually going to go and back up the configuration on this guy. And if I actually want to see that, I can SSH it, or I can actually just go and get logs on this device, right? Select it, get logs, and I'm going to pull up the logs for this device. So if I can now go to execute, and we can see, expect session, local authentication, backup of system, succeeded, right? And I would have got that as well as the error message here. So I can also save this, right? So easily get that. I could also go ahead and save my configuration, save my memory on this box, right? But if I didn't want to just click on that button, it's very simple. I could do right mem as well, select it, and just go execute. Another option to basically execute that. Every time something runs, you actually get an output telling you that it was okay. I could have converted this to be, it's saved, but I just thought this was it was intuitive enough. One of the things that can happen as well is this feature called Enable Visibility Tab Statistics, which is for this tab right here. Why I created a little checkbox here, and the reason is in demoing, or you might have stuff that's not up and running, and if I go ahead and anytime I select this, it's going to try to get the statistics. So if I click on this again, it's going to take about 10-15 seconds, and it's going to basically pull up the statistics for for that device. And so we just give it a minute here. And did I do it? Oh, I have to have multiple devices. Okay, so let's get multiple devices in here, right? So let's go ahead and show you another feature and functionality of this, which is basically the ability to import it. So entering all this information can be very tedious. I'm sure you have a lot of your information already. So we can actually import it. So let's go to A10 tools. Let's go to Python. And let's go to select CSV, of course. And so I'm going to select this file. And now it's going to basically try to import all the devices. I purposely had to basically do a check to make sure the same host name was not in the system. And if it was, it would give you an error. And then it tells you at the end how many were added, how many were ignored because of that, right? So all I have to do is list update again. I could see that. And if I click up here, and now I could see my visibility shows up because I changed it. And so basically, this is a good feature, but in here, this device does not really exist. If I click here, it's going to hang. So I basically have this box to uncheck in a real world where everything is live and you can do it. Nothing happens. You're going to have to wait about a minute to be able to move on with the program and things like that. I haven't got these windows to close. It's something I might try to do in the next couple of weeks, but it just don't have a lot. If I want to run changes to 2 devices at a time or more, because by default it executes only to a single device, I basically would have to just basically go ahead, select the device, click add, get my second box, click add. And basically now if I want to do a show interface brief, let's say, show interface brief, basically I could go ahead and execute that. And oh, of course I didn't select anything because I want to run that. So I could execute that. And basically this is now going to run this command. You kind of tell how it's still running because it basically it becomes sunken. And so now you see here, show interface brief for my first device, show interface brief for my second device. Once again, I could go ahead and save that to my buffer, right? And then, or basically save my commands. I could also import a config. So if you have a template that you create all the time and you basically want to just import that, you could basically easily, if you want to push that to a whole bunch of devices, just basically go ahead, look for A10, and basically Python. And I thought I copied some in here. But let's use this as an example. You can see I can pull this information up, right? So basically, I go ahead and now you can, like I said, you can actually save all this. I should put a clear box for this, and I haven't. But I can easily do that. But let's say I want to do a show interface brief, or let's take a look here. So this guy has 6 does not have something configured. So let's do this. Let's go to interface E6, go enabled, and basically go IP address 1.1.1.1/24 IP route, right? I don't know, 3.3.3.3 1.1 slash let's say slash 24, and then next hop 1.1.1.110, right? So basically I can actually select this. Let's save this to the buffer, save command window. I'm going to replace, save, and so A10, and we're going to go to Python, and we're going to go sample config, sample config. Once again, I forgot. I got to create the file here. And this is standard in all applications. Okay, sample config. So we go here and I select that, and then I just go, and now that's saved. So let me go ahead and import that now. So you're going to see it actually looks a little bit different because I've got it to save it with a little heading, but the heading is easily removed, so it's not a big deal. So sample config, you see save from CLI window, right? So I just have this. I'm just going to take this out. You can see that taken out. And now you go ahead and let's go back to devices. And basically what we could do is, I might get an error on this one. If we look back at our execute command, I do not have a, right, I do not have that. Oh, let's change that to loopback 1. Well, let's go loopback 1. We'll just keep it that. So basically we have, and let's go back to device, and we're just going to send it to this guy who does have an interface fix. And so we're going to execute only a single device. And let's go and execute that right now. And we're going to just send that. We're going to go to the execute window, and we see backend incorrect mask. So IP route, Oh, that makes sense, right? It should be 32, or change this to 0, and then make this 24. Okay, and now we're going to go back here, do it again, and execute that. And now we can go over here and we say okay, right? Now we could go ahead and do show interface brief and go back to our device list. And this time let's run it on multiple devices, right? So go ahead and execute that. And we can go over here, and we see that we do have the IP address right here, of course. Also, what I forgot to mention is you can actually run multiple commands. So show IP route, okay? So, and then we could do write mem as well. So we could run all these commands. Let's go through that, and we're still here. We're execute, so we're going to just run that. It's going to run for a couple of minutes. Oh, not a couple of minutes. It's going to be less than a minute, and it's done. And basically, we can see now show IP route for 5, and basically we see it here. Management 17, IP route, and now we could see 6 has the IP address, and we could see the route has been added there, right? And then of course we did the write mem as well, right? So you can see you can run multiple configurations. Another thing I want to show you is this feature. This feature is the search bar. If it's in the device listings, it's basically going to search for, it will search for basically devices in it'll search the host names, I should say. If it's in visibility, it's basically going to search the visibility windows. So if I click test in here, it's not going to show up anything. But let's say if I do 512, because if I'm looking for something specific, I could find it right there. So it makes it easy to find something. If I'm in the execution, and this one will search through here. This is case sensitive. So if I do up, I can basically look and find out everything that's up. Now, if I did just capital P, it probably would not show up, right? Right, so it wouldn't show up. So it is case sensitive on this screen, unlike the search, right? And as well, when I look at my devices, list all, right? I could do hardware only, list those devices. I could do virtual only, list those devices. So I can basically figure out if I want. If I don't want this device, I can easily go ahead and delete that device. And now it's gone. It's out of my record. It prompts me if I want to do it. So basically I refresh and it is gone. This device, I might want to basically just edit it. I might change the IP to basically be 24, and I go ahead and save those changes, click OK, and then I go list those devices again, and I see that's 24. And basically, this is my little program. I hope it's beneficial to you. I hope you enjoy it. And basically, you could easily use this to help you do your daily management of your devices, and most importantly, show the power of the AX API capability. All right, thank you and have a good day.